Giving a little test. Okay, greetings brothers, I am Nelope, and today we're going to be talking about another 30k video, and which is the Horus Lodge. And unlike the Cadians, when they have no ground to stand, unlike me, I'm going to be standing in this shit nearby the mic, and because my chair broke, we're going to be talking about that. That happened during, at the end of the Great Crusade, during the Horus Heresy, and then later on, there was a possibility they even continued on the 42nd millennium, which is the present day, as I'm recording this right now. So, before talking about the Horus Lodge, we're gonna have to talk about like the sources I'm gonna be putting in the description, and you have to take it a little bit cautious when you do some research yourself. If you want to make a video about it or give it a look, and maybe I missed something, I'm 100% sure I didn't, but yeah, sure. So, as I'm currently editing this video, I've been rambling way too much on a certain topic that I'm trying to talk about, and what I'm talking about specifically is that the wikis, you can use them as a source, but at the same time, they could be unreliable at the same time as you're doing research, and there are a couple of things you're just like, actually, this might be not true, but on one hand, people can't afford a book, so they could just look at it in the wikis in the meantime in order to have a better understanding about the 40k lore, and that's pretty fine. And usually the recommended is always being the books, because you can be like the first witness to see those scenarios that is happening on the books, and you have like your own conclusions about it. But usually when it comes to books, sometimes they're generic. Some people have their own more assumptions on it as well. But there are some, of course, in the books, there are more straightforward and direct. But that is not always the case when it comes to 40k. 40k has always been like a mystery kind of type. You know, it's always the unknown. The other point that I was trying to hit on is that the wikis, especially the Fandom wiki, when I was doing the research, they had all these sources on the bottom that didn't even relate to the Horus Lodge. And that's where I started rambling about of how shit this wiki is specifically, because they just put sources for no reason at all that doesn't even relate to the Horus Lodge. But other than that, the Lexicanum Wikipedia is pretty much superior than the Fandom one. But so far that I've seen, there are some minor inconsistencies and incorrects on some other subjects that I looked up on. But other than that, so far the wikis have been good enough. But usually, if I would recommend, like books, like usually the Horus Heresy, if you're into 30k, or if you're interested, you can try 40k books. But other than that, that's all I have to say, and now back to my normal video. So back in conclusion, what I was going to talk about this is, you can look at these links, you can check on all the sources that you have, or if you have even the books, that's even better. But, just be very cautious when you look at these wikis. Don't take it at face value, because the one thing I really hate when people do this is take things at face value without a critical mind. So for me, I'm just giving you a little bit of caution before looking at these wikis, as I did research about them. That's it. Like, that's all I have. Like, what do you expect? What do you want? Some wheels to be a fucking car? I don't know. And also, one more thing. If you see this video talking about the 40 facts about the Horus Lodge, dude, don't even watch it. It's literally copy-paste from the wikis that I found. Like, unless you want a narrator, go for it. But, dude, it's not even worth your time. You're better off read it than just, listen to him saying the same shit. So, that's my opinion on that one. I haven't found any other videos talking about the Horus Lodge, except for One Mind Syndicate, but I don't think you want to hear his voice, do you? Like, as a narrator. Someone who does, then fuck, you have a shit life. By the way, I'm joking. I love you. So, what is the Horus Lodge? How does it operate? Why does it even exist? How did it become like this? And does it even still exist in the 42nd millennium? Now, we're going to answer all those questions, but first, we're going to go by step by step by step by step by step, from start to finish, and then you're going to get this whole picture of this wholesome Horus Lodge. So we're going to start with this. In order for you to understand how it operates and etc., you're going to have to understand what it is in the first place. So first, what is the Horus Lodge? The Horus Lodge is pretty much like you could call it a secret cult, a secret group, or a secret principles meeting or some shit. And I don't give a shit, but anything you want to call it, for me, I'm going to call it like a secret group. So with this secret group, what the philosophy was is that you have no rank and you speak to anybody you want. So that could be a captain speaking to a private and another, etc. And some legions saw this Warriors Lodge that is harmless, it did nothing, and, anybody who was using the Warriors Lodge was, they thought it was nothing. But later on, at the end of the Great Crusade, and then the start of the rebellion of the Horus Heresy, most legions who had the Warriors Lodge turned into chaos. And a good example is the 16th Legion, not Lunar Wolves, the Sons of Horus. They used this Warriors Lodge. They thought it was harmless, and then they rebelled against the Emperor because they had some chaotic involvement with it. A really good example that was in the books of the Horus Rising, False Gods, and then might as well include Fulgrim, and then come on, there was one more book, please. Oh yes, The Flight of Eisenstein. Yep, there we go. But the one thing that is way more important is the Horus Rising and the False Gods. Those two books are really impact what's happened to the 16th Legion in general. But Fulgrim and the Flight of Eisenstein is like from the two other legions who are impacted by the Warriors Lodge, but not as detailed that the two first books that I mentioned right now. So what I'm going with this is the example of the 16th Legion used the Warriors Lodge and it was it had no harm. And then later on, some sections that became very controversial, and then they became a little bit more chaotic, and then they rebelled against the Emperor. There was this one little thing talking about like the White Scars used the Warriors Lodge, and then they still loyalist, but I'm just sitting here like, I have never heard about this. I haven't found any sources talking about it, so it's a bit vague, but if you have any sources about it, that is not fucking vague, I swear. Don't waste my fucking time. I'll give it a look and see if that's the case. But if it isn't, then I'll scrape it on the side. So where did this Warriors Lodge come from? Like, where did it originate? And the answer to that is pretty much, it was from the planet of Davin. So during the Great Crusade, planet Devon was just a feral world. It just had these religious kind of looking people, and pretty much this is where they originated. When the world bearers came over to that planet and put it into compliance, they saw this Warriors Lodge idea and then put it into their own thing. So once the world bearers took that planet into compliance, took the Warriors Lodge idea, they took it and they saw it as nothing, and then just spread it of the other legions. And once the other legions saw this, it's like, yeah, sure, I'll take that as well. Or, as well, they're going to take some elements of the Warriors Lodge and make it as their own. A good example, the Sons of the Phoenix, and obviously the Sons of Horus. If you say Lunar Wolves, I will fucking stop your kneecaps. Backwards. You could say this is relatable to Gilliman's Codex Astartes, where some legions saw what was fit and then made them into chapters, and then some of them were just like Codex or compliant. A good example is, since I'm the Son of Dawn, there would be the Crimson Fist, and the Black Templars say, fuck that shit, we're gonna do whatever we want, right? Or, they probably took some elements out of it that they saw fit, so they do that. So, thinking about the Codex Astartes, it is the similar thing with the Warriors Lodge. They took it what it's fit for them, or they just took it as it is, right? Now, I can't name every legion, but, the two examples is pretty much the Emperor's Children, the Sons of the Phoenix, and the Sons of Horus, right? When they use their own Warriors Lodge. The many questions you could have about the Warriors Lodge, since you know that it led into corruption, it turned from nice to, holy shit, Lucius has a fucking massive arm.
Ah, look at the top of his head! Look at his lips!
And, you could have many more questions about it, but the answer to this is pretty much, one is that most legions didn't know much about chaos or anything. They knew that the warp existed in the materium, and they thought it's just like mindless energy that doesn't have any awareness, or, any other words you could say. But since they had no idea about chaos, that means they had no idea any other forms of demons and spirits that even exist, because it was also in the Imperial Truth talking about that these things that happen about chaos, demons, and spirits and shit don't even exist. So they don't even think in their heads that they actually exist. And the other thing is, once they saw the Warriors Lodge from the World Bearers, they saw it as harmless. It's just a peaceful secret gathering. And as I said, it has no rank, you can speak your mind freely, and it's nothing harmless. And this is pretty much the conclusion of why they took it. It's they saw it as harmless, they had no knowledge about chaos because they because the Imperial Truth kept telling them that there are no spirits or any other forms of magic or anything, and they knew there was a warp, but it was just like mindless energy warp. That's what they thought, really. So that's pretty much the reason behind it of why they just like took it as into their legions and then just like fucked everything up afterwards.
Let me guess. Your home?
It was. And it was beautiful.
Now the question that you have is, how did this utopia-looking cookie-sprinkled vision of the Warriors Lodge became so nice, and then it turned into shit? Now the answer to that is of how they changed from good to shit. The answer is everything happened at the Battle of Davin. And don't fucking worry, I'm not gonna do it like what I did in the last video, giving the whole description of what the Battle of Davin is. But the consequences of the Battle of Davin changed the members of the Warriors Lodge forever and pretty much rebelled against the Emperor. But I will summarize it pretty short. It's not that hard. So pretty much, they went to Battle of Davin on the little moon, and then Horus was about to die, and then, desperately the Warriors Lodges took him into the Temple of Devon in order to resurrect him. He got resurrected, and then, things from there changed. Because of Horus's influence and pretty much Erebus, because of their influence, it changed most of the Warriors members' lodge could go against the Emperor, and pretty much there's other elements as well. But what we have to really focus here is that after the resurrection of Horus at the Battle of Davin, everything just went to shit, and it was a fun fucking experience. It was fun as fuck. Let's talk about the contradiction of the Warriors Lodge. So, it is a great idea to have this Warriors Lodge idea to bring a closer bond together as one, and like there's no separation between them. But the question about the Warriors Lodge is that, what about the people who are against the Warriors Lodge or didn't want to join the Warriors Lodge? It created more division than bond together as a legion, so that kind of contradicts itself. And a good example is in the False Gods, where Gabriel Loken, where a little bit spoiler, obviously. You're going to have spoilers for me, kids. You're like, you ain't getting away from me. But to give it a little example is that what was in the book is pretty much Gabriel Loken was against the Warriors Lodge, and there were people who were with the Warriors Lodge, and obviously some people were against, but I just put out Gabriel Loken as one of the examples. And you can tell there was this friction in between them of, which was the best idea with or without the Warriors Lodge. And you can tell there was a bit of a friction. And when there's friction, there's division. And when there's division, there's war. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the Ispan 3 atrocity! Yes! It was an amazing experience. Yes, it was good. It was good. Amazing. Brings a tear to my eye. So with that example shown, it actually explains that some Astartes were still following the Imperial Truth, and the Imperial Truth was pretty much against the Warriors Lodge. And the reason they were against the Warriors Lodge is that when they're secret, what it will lead to is to lead into a dark cult, or it can bring into a religion. And the Emperor himself, who brought this Imperial Truth to the citizens of the Imperium, he was strongly against a religion, right? Or some sort of secrecy cult that could go against the Imperium. Another good example that confirms the Imperial Truth's ideals is that there was another cult called the Lectitio Divinitatis, and that cult was pretty much just praising the Emperor as a god. And let's just say, nobody liked that at all. So giving these examples of having a secret cult or group that will get into a rebellion, cult, or like a dark cult, or a religion itself. And so far I've given you like two things. Another more examples where the Warriors Lodge created this friction between the Legion internally and, led into the Ispan 3 atrocity is that one of the good examples is the flight at Eisenstein, the Death Guard Legion that had this friction because of the Warriors Lodge. The Emperor's Children, where they had the Brotherhood of Phoenix, where they had this little friction as well of anybody who went against their type of Warriors Lodge. They just got deleted. And it's the same thing with the Sons of Horus. Anybody who went against the Warriors Lodge, they were the enemies. And it just created more division and just deleting anybody was like part of the who was with the Emperor, with the Imperial truth, and then they just rebelled. That was like, yeet, delete. So the conclusion of this is that the Warriors Lodge created more division than more unity, and it created more friction internally of each of the legions who were with the Warriors Lodge. The other example that is like the final nail in the coffin, it all happened at the Battle of Davin. And once the Battle of Davin happened, it all started downhill from that. When Horus was just like badly damaged and he was taken in the Temple of Devon in order to be resurrected. He was being tricked, but in my opinion, he was a fucking idiot. But overall, he was technically being tricked and giving these false illusions of, this is what the Emperor is, and etc. And he actually believed it. The fucking idiot. Fucking Horus. And with every example that I gave you, was just like the two cults, the Warriors Lodge and the Lectitio Divinitatis, and the three legions that I mentioned. Obviously, there was more. Anybody was part of Horus were actually part of the Warriors Lodge as well, and just deleted most of the enemies in their eyes who were against the Warriors Lodge. So it is a good example of what actually happened when you have a secret cult and then you create a division in between your legion, and then you just divide yourself. So it's Now, speaking about all these things about the Warriors Lodge, now we're going to talk about, like, how do they operate? How do they simply work, right? Now, to my answer to this is pretty much, there are two books that you can actually read if you want to talk about it, or pretty much, as I said, the weakest is on the description if you want to check your sources yourself, but if you want to hear it from my voice, alright, here we go. As I mentioned before about talking about the Warriors Lodge, it requires no rank. You can just join the Warriors Lodge at your own influence. There's no requirements, for you to join the Warriors Lodge. If you want to join the Warriors Lodge, there are probably some things talking about joining the Warriors Lodge, but you can just join in freely because, first of all, it is a secret group that required no rank, and you can speak freely of your mind, and people can join in, right? As far as I've found, there were no sources talking about how you could join. So, for me, making assumptions about it is pretty much you could just join in out of your free will. You have to probably ask someone who is like a member of the Warriors Lodge and ask if they wanted to join, right? That could be the case. And as I mentioned before about the Emperor's children operating differently to the Sons of Horus, they have two different things. But let's talk about generally what the Warriors Lodge is pretty much. And with this idea in mind, there was different types of Warriors Lodges. So you have the Emperor's children and you have the Sons of Horus, right? The two good examples. So let's talk about the Sons of Horus. The Sons of Horus' idea of the Warriors Lodge for you to join in. First of all, you can be from any legion that you can be, and anybody's welcome to join in their legion and then speak about their minds and other etc. That was one of the good examples that was happening in the False Gods book as well. Pretty good book, but I really suggest for you to start from the first and then go up. And these are like the little basics, but when it came to the legions, they had like a different take on the Warriors Lodge. So the basics of having no rank and speaking freely is there, but it's also like who is allowed to be part of the Warriors Lodge, right? So there isn't much sources talking about like who can join and how they can join in. But as far as I'm aware from the book of the False Gods, pretty good book. And obviously Captain Loken is involved. That's what I'm bringing with. It talks about like the way I think it could have happened, even though they didn't mention about it, of how to be Warriors Lodge member is pretty much probably you have to contact someone who is a member Warriors Lodge and then just, you have to join in the group. But that is pretty much an assumption of what the sources I can gather with. So that's what I think personally of how they joined. If you have any sources about something else, be my fucking guest. Even though half of you motherfuckers is going to say, I remember this from one vague source. So the Sons of Horus, their idea of the Warriors Lodge is that any members who are just generally the Warriors Lodge member is pretty much allowed to join in the circle, in the Lunar Wolves Warriors Lodge. And a really good example is that Erebus, who went up to the Sons of Horus, and he was the one who actually introduced the Warriors Lodge, he was allowed to be the members of the Sons of Horus Warriors Lodge. And anybody else who wants to join in can be part of it as well. But that is like one example that I was able to find. But it gives a good example of that Erebus, who is a world bearer, he's allowed to be in the Sons of Horus Warriors Lodge. So with the Emperor's children, with their version of the Warriors Lodge called the Sons of the Phoenix, for them is pretty much the opposite. They don't allow any other members of the Warriors Lodge to be part of their Warriors Lodge, and it is only the Emperor's children to be allowed in their group. Now, there is a little bit of a contradiction to that, but it's only happened a one-time thing of that the Sons of Horus Sergeant Targos went into the one-time events that in the Brotherhood of the Phoenix. But then again, the core idea in the mind is that, for the Emperor's children is that everybody in the Emperor's children should be part of the Warriors Lodge and nobody else should be part of them as well. But then again, when it came to the Sergeant Targos, that is just a one-time thing. So it's not like an everyday occurrence that every members can join in. So I guess, not everybody's allowed until, maybe some special event happened. But that's what I know about so far when it came to the Emperor's children. So another thing when it came to the Warriors Lodge is the entrance. Because it's such a secret group, there's got to be guards in front of the gates. You just don't enter in freely. So let's just say you and your mate are the members of the Warriors Lodge, right? And you approach to the gates, and then you just have to answer these questions, right? Who approaches? And then you pretty much have to name how many souls they are. You could say 2 souls. And souls means how many people are are with you. Just saying, because some people are just really special sometimes, Who knows, some people just didn't know what it is, and, it happens. And the second question is pretty much asking, what are your names? And here's the twist. You don't actually say your names, you just say, I can't say. You are now allowed to approach, brothers. Yeah, so that's pretty much the short way explaining of how that works. It's from the Book of the False Gods, if you want to check it out. And I think it's from the Horus Rising as well. I think it's involved as well. So they're pretty good books, I'm not gonna lie. So the last thing that I have questioning myself about the Warriors Lodge is that, does it still exist in the 42nd millennium? And the conclusion that I can come with only one source, that I couldn't find anything else, really, it fucking sucks, but this is all I have. And it's that, by gut feeling and assumption, is that I would say, yes, it will probably still exist in the 42nd millennium. And that is the only source that I can find, is that Commissar Cyrus Kane made it appointed by the Warriors Lodge in the one school, and, in order to prevent the chaotic cults be invested into the Imperial Guard. Really? That's all you got? Out of all the fucking big galaxy, you just got that. And that was it, really. That was it about it. But if we just go into assumptions, between, 30k and during the present day, I would say it still exists, and it should have, an effect on some certain areas. Maybe it will be affected in some chapters, maybe it affected some Imperial Guard, areas in order to make a dark cult or some sort of different religion. But unfortunately, there isn't much evidence other than saying, about Commissar Cyrus, That's all I got, unfortunately. It's like, you have a big fucking galaxy out of so many things, and you only reference only one thing. Fine, whatever. I'm not gonna get angry. And that's about it. Thank you very much, my brothers, for watching my video about the Warriors Lodge, and to give it a little bit of explanation what has been taking me so long in order to make this video, and and also introduce a couple of social medias if you're interested about it. So just give me a little explanation on that. If you aren't a follower on Twitter, I usually recommend it if you want to follow me on Twitter and just keep up to date what I've been doing lately. Some memes, some arts as well. And, some other dumb shit that I post as well. It's all that. So pretty much what I've been doing lately, I've been doing, digital arts, mainly 2D, 40k arts. I don't know where I'm going to post them. I'm just going to put them over here or over here. It's all there. And if you want to go into my social media stuff, on my YouTube channel, it should be on the top right. It's all there for you. You can go into it. And I might add more social media stuff like Devon and art, because that's where I post my art, and also probably Instagram as well, because that's where I put my art as well, if you can't be fucked doing Divi and art, right? And also I've been doing a lot of streaming on Twitch, almost like a couple of months now. On every Saturdays I've been doing painting minis, and then every Sundays I'll be playing like Warhammer related games or Warhammer 40k games. And mainly at the moment I just play a lot of Vermintide 2, so if you want to come over and say hi, or you just want to fuck me over a lot of the, of your choices, be my fucking guest. Get up! Yes! Alright, cowbunga, beast. Whoop! I can't do anything.
My day is ruined, and my disappointment is immeasurable.
But yeah, all the social media stuff should be under this video, and it should be on my main channel as well. If you want to give it a look around, be my guest. But that's what I've been doing lately, and yeah. Maybe I will see you on the stream, or I'll see you on the next video. Who knows? But thank you very much for watching, my brothers. And I'll see you next time on the next video. Goodbye, my brothers, and take care. And hopefully I get a chair as well to sit on, you know? At the moment I have a wooden chair, but that's very not appealing, so I hope I get a chair, or, you know, maybe better off I'll be standing. You know? I would say, actually, standing is more comfortable than sitting down. Maybe I'll stand more often. Unlike Katie,